The Amityville Horror, 112 Ocean Avenue. On the chilling evening of November 13, 1974, the tranquility of a quiet New York suburb was shattered. At 112 Ocean Avenue, Ronald DeFeo Jr. executed 6 members of his own family. His parents, Ronald Sr. and Louise, and his 4 siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. The victims were discovered face down in their beds, all having succumbed to gunshot wounds from a .35 caliber Marlin rifle. Around 6:30 p.m., DeFeo sprinted into a local tavern, Henry's Bar, frantically claiming his family had been slain. Initial investigations were plagued by DeFeo's shifting narratives. He first implicated a mob hitman, but detectives grew skeptical when they found the house locked from the inside with no signs of forced entry. Eventually, Butch DeFeo confessed, claiming the voices of the house commanded him to kill. While his defense attempted an insanity plea during the 1975 trial, the prosecution proved the murders were meticulously planned. DeFeo received 6 concurrent sentences of 25 years to life. The case gained supernatural infamy a year later when the Lutz family moved in, only to flee 28 days later, sparking a global media franchise. However, the true horror remains the cold-blooded reality of that November night. Hook, if you think the Amityville ghosts are scary, wait until you hear about the killer who waited in an attic for hours just to strike. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're enjoying these deep dives into true crime history. Fox Hollow Farm, the bones in the woods. Herb Baumeister appeared to be a successful entrepreneur living on a beautiful 18-acre estate in Westfield, Indiana. However, during the 1990s, Baumeister used Fox Hollow Farm as a personal graveyard for men he lured from Indianapolis gay bars. The discovery of the crimes began when Baumeister's wife, Julie, allowed police to search the property while Herb was away. Investigators were horrified to find over 10,000 bone fragments scattered across the wooded areas of the farm. Baumeister fled to Canada and ended his own life before he could be questioned. For years, many of the victims remained unidentified. However, in 2024 and 2025, significant breakthroughs in genetic genealogy led to the identification of several more victims, including Alan Livingston and Manuel Resendez. These recent developments have finally allowed families to bring their loved ones home, proving that even decades later, the truth can still be unearthed from the forest floor. The Ariel Castro House, 10 Years in Darkness. The 2013 escape of Amanda Berry, Michelle Knight, and Gina De Jesus from a home on Seymour Avenue in Cleveland revealed a decade-long nightmare. Ariel Castro, a former bus driver, had abducted the 3 women between 2002 and 2004, holding them captive in a house modified with chains, boarded windows, and locked rooms. The survivors endured unimaginable hardship, including physical abuse and psychological torment. The house was a fortress of silence until May 6, 2013, when Castro left a door unlocked. Amanda Berry's screams alerted a neighbor, leading to their rescue and the discovery of Berry's 6-year-old daughter, born in captivity. Castro was sentenced to life plus 1,000 years, but took his own life in prison shortly after. Today, the house has been demolished, and the site remains an empty lot, symbolizing the end of a dark era and the incredible resilience of the 3 women who survived it. CTA. Resilience in the face of absolute darkness. If these stories move you, please share this video with a friend who loves true crime. Ketty Cabin 28. The Hammer in the Pond. Deep in the woods of the Sierra Nevada, the 1981 Ketty Cabin murders remain a haunting cold case that recently turned warm. Sue Sharp, her son John, and his friend Dana Wingate were found bound and bludgeoned in their living room. Sue's youngest daughter, Tina, was missing, and her remains weren't discovered until 3 years later, miles away. For decades, the case was stalled by incompetent evidence handling and missing files. However, the investigation was revitalized in 2013. In 2016, a crucial piece of evidence, a hammer matching the one used in the murders, was recovered from a nearby pond. Investigators now believe the primary suspects were neighbors Martin Smart and John Bo Bubaid, though both died before charges could be filed. The discovery of the hammer and new DNA leads have finally provided some semblance of a timeline for a tragedy that has haunted Plumas County for over 40 years. The Menendez Mansion. Tragedy or treachery? The 1989 murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez in their Beverly Hills mansion transformed the American legal landscape. Brothers Lyle and Eric Menendez utilized 12-gauge shotguns to kill their parents, later claiming they found the bodies after returning from a movie. Their initial behavior, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on luxury items, quickly drew police suspicion. The brothers eventually confessed to their psychologist, and the subsequent trials became a national obsession. The defense argued imperfect self-defense, alleging that years of severe physical and emotional abuse by Jose drove the brothers to act out of fear. The prosecution, however, maintained the motive was a $14 million inheritance. After a mistrial, the second trial resulted in life sentences without parole. However, in late 2024 and early 2025, the case took a dramatic turn as the Los Angeles District Attorney recommended resentencing based on new evidence of abuse, a process currently captivating the public once again. Hook, wealth, and status couldn't hide the secrets of the Menendez home. What do you think? Was it greed or survival? Let us know in the comments below. Cielo Drive. The Manson family terror. The night of August 9th, 1969, remains the most notorious date in Los Angeles criminal history. Followers of cult leader Charles Manson descended upon the home of actress Sharon Tate, brutally murdering her, her unborn child, and 4 others: Jay Sebring, Wojciech Frykowski, Abigail Folger, and Stephen Parent. The word pig was scrawled in blood on the front door, a terrifying signature of the Manson family. The motive was as delusional as it was violent. Manson aimed to trigger Helter Skelter, an apocalyptic race war he believed was prophesied in Beatles lyrics. The victims were chosen largely because the house had previously belonged to a music producer who had rejected Manson. The trial was a media circus, featuring the defendants carving X's into their foreheads and showing zero remorse. While Manson died in 2017, his followers remained in the headlines for decades. As of 2024 and 2025, some, like Leslie Van Houten, have been granted parole, while others, like Patricia Krenwinkel, remain behind bars. Breeze Knoll. The Vanishing of John List. In December 1971, John List orchestrated a cold and calculated massacre at his 18-room mansion, Breeze Knoll, in Westfield, New Jersey. Driven by financial ruin and a warped religious fervor, List methodically shot his wife, his mother, and his 3 children. He arranged their bodies in the ballroom on sleeping bags, turned on religious music, and simply vanished. List had meticulously planned his escape, cutting himself out of family photos and stopping all mail and milk deliveries to ensure the bodies wouldn't be found for weeks. He left a 5-page letter to his pastor, claiming he killed his family to save their souls from poverty. List remained a fugitive for 18 years, assuming the identity of Robert Clark and starting a new life in Virginia. He was only captured in 1989 after a forensic sculptor created a bust for America's Most Wanted that proved hauntingly accurate. List was eventually sentenced to 5 life terms, finally facing justice for the family he discarded nearly 2 decades earlier. The Clutter Farmhouse. In cold blood. On November 15, 1959, The isolation of Holcomb, Kansas, provided a backdrop for a massacre that would change American literature forever. Herb Clutter, a prosperous farmer, along with his wife Bonnie and their children, Nancy and Kenyon, were found bound and shot execution style in their home. The crime appeared motiveless, as the only items stolen were a transistor radio and a pair of binoculars. The breakthrough came via a prison tip. A former cellmate of Richard Hickok revealed that Hickok and Perry Smith had planned the robbery based on a false rumor that Herb Clutter kept a massive safe in the house. After realizing no safe existed, the duo decided to leave no witnesses. They were eventually captured in Las Vegas, linked to the scene by distinct bloody boot prints. Their trial and subsequent execution in 1965 became the subject of Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. The Clutter case remains a harrowing reminder of how a simple, false rumor can lead to the destruction of an entire family. CTA. These cases change the way we view home security forever. Are you enjoying this breakdown? Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. The Villisca Axe Murders, a century of silence. In the early hours of June 10, 1912, the small town of Villisca, Iowa, became the site of one of America's most perplexing unsolved mysteries. 8 people, including Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, and 2 young neighbors, the Stillinger sisters, were bludgeoned to death with an axe as they slept. The brutality was absolute. The killer used both the sharp and blunt ends of the tool, striking the victims with such force that blood coated the ceilings. The crime scene was famously bizarre. Every mirror in the house was draped with cloth, and the killer had seemingly loitered in the home, even preparing a bowl of bloody water to wash their hands. Unfortunately, the investigation was compromised almost immediately. Before police could secure the perimeter, hundreds of townspeople trampled through the house, destroying fingerprints and footprints. Suspects ranged from Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher who allegedly confessed but later recanted, to local businessman Frank Jones. Despite multiple trials and theories involving a cross-country serial killer, the identity of the person who waited in the Moore's attic remains a ghost of the past.